Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, bringing you another Warhammer 40K battle report. Once again, we are joined by Lane with his Votann.
How's it going, guys?
Today will be our final practice game before we get ready for Pittsburgh, since we work full-time jobs and have to do that stuff all week long.
We do.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a long week, but it's gonna be a great weekend. And we also got to get everything packed up, make sure we have everything, styrofoam,
display boards got to be ready.
Display boards, all the fun stuff, all the great stuff. And we'll be talking about a lot of that this week, especially like when I'm setting stuff up and there's certain things. We'll throw some videos out there talking about getting ready to go to a GT and how to make a checklist and how to try to not forget anything. Because once you get 2 hours away, it's kind of hard to go back and get something.
I mean, I'm sure the store doesn't mind if you forget stuff because you got to buy more things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I have had to buy data cards and other
tape measures, dice.
Yep. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do turn the bell for notification to get notified on more videos such as the rest in this series, as well as the other tabletop and faction-focused videos that we're going to be doing all the way up until 10th and beyond. Give a little Buzz Lightyear out there. So today we are going to be doing Tear Down the Icons. It's one of the missions that we're going to be looking at for Bedlum at the Burg. And I think that's realistically, it's about it. These are lists that we've brought on the channel quite a few times. So we have been practicing them a lot. This is going to be the last game, kind of going over some niche things. I'll try to videotape some of the stuff that we haven't shown in some of the past, so you can hear some of the conversations that we have going into this and be kind of more of a thought process, since this has been kind of a ragtag matchup that we've done a couple of times. At least both of these armies we've done a couple of times.
Yeah, and there's a lot that goes into the movement phase. A lot of times you don't see what happens during the movement phase. There's a lot of conversations about when we're deep striking things, when you're veiling things, when I'm bringing things in from reserve, making decisions about targets and that sort of thing. So a lot goes on between the time we show, the end of one person's turn and the beginning of the shooting phase.
Exactly. So with that being said, first let's jump over to give a quick summary of the list that we're bringing today. Lane, why don't you tell us about what you're bringing for Votann?
Sure. This is a Ymir conglomerate Votann list. I've got 2 HQs. I've got a call that's upgraded to the high call, and she's got the Ancestor's Eye Warlord trait, so she gives out 2 judgment tokens in her command phase. I've also got the Forge Master, who's upgraded from the Iron Master, so he can zero out failed armor saves for a Hecaton once per battle round. And he can also heal for flat 4, so he keeps his Hecatons around for a long time. I've got 3 fast attacks. These are 3 6-man Hernkin Pioneer jet bike squads. These are 12-inch move, 12-inch pregame move, obsec, fly, and they put out just a ton of shots, 48 shots for the whole squad. They ignore light cover. They ignore dense cover. They're awesome. Also, I've got 2 elites. I've got a 5-man Berserk squad with a plasma axis. So these guys, when they do their sweep attacks, they put out 6 attacks apiece. I've got a 5-man Einhir Hearthguard squad. This has the Warp Strike relic on it. So it's the relic teleport crest. That means they can teleport once per game for free. Normally that's a strat that costs a CP, but they can do it for free. They also have a 12-inch deep strike denied bubble, and they can move through models as if they can fly. They've got the Vulcanite pit guns that do mortal wounds on 6s to hit, and they also have grenade launcher. So each one has 2 guns, put out a lot of shots, and then they've got the plasma blades as well. And then finally, I've got 2 of the Hecaton land fortresses, the Super Chunk smoke wagons. These guys all have bolt cannons around the outside. Each one has the auto cannon, and then one of them has the SP conversion beamer, and one of them has the heavy magna rail.
All right, so over into my Necrons. This is my Novak Dynasty. My compulsory is fast attack. I got a 5-man squad of Wraiths with claws, a 4-man squad of Wraiths with whip coils, 2 9-man squads of Scarabs, a 19-man squad of Warriors with Gauze Reapers, a 3-man of Canoptic Tomb Spiders that also have the Particle Beamers, the Catan Shard of the Void Dragon, Catan Shard of the Nightbringer, 2 Chronomancers, 1 Technomancer with a whole bunch of war gear, and a Pharaon who is my Necron Overlord. With our secondaries, let's talk about these a little bit and what we're looking at today. Now, mine are kind of linear. This is more where, when you're looking at a list and you look at what secondaries and you kind of build in secondaries. What Necrons have actually been in a really good position where a lot of their Codex secondaries have been safe plays to build around. And I continue with that. There are some people who are on the fence about Purge the Vermin because it doesn't score on the first game turn. and it's real easy for your opponent to kind of zone it out by just barely towing a unit into it. However, for my list, with how fast my units are, I can, if somebody gets that toe in and doesn't fully dedicate, that can be my wraiths end up swinging in there and crushing and ripping things apart. And as we've seen in a couple of games in the past, the wraiths are damaging. They do put out a lot of damage. So they're
I don't
able
like
to,
them.
I love them. Want some more of them. But that's one thing that we definitely see that I am able to see a lot and do with this list. Now, if I was a slower Necron build with like more warriors and stuff like that, I could see where engage on all fronts or behind enemy lines might be a better pick. For me, Persia Vermin is one that my mind and my eye on the table, I see it, I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it without even thinking about it. So to build a list to go into that is a little bit easier and a little less stressful on me, especially at the time of the tournament, because that's one thing that I'm not focusing on it, and I'm just scoring it in the back of my head because I've played into that so much, even into the later games, even though I can't score it on turn one. Treasure of Aeons, there's 3 objectives in the middle. Stranglehold, which was a secondary that we had at the early point. Basically, they took Stranglehold out of the game, and because too many people were taking it, it was too easy to score on.
It's basically just scoring the primaries, doing what you should be doing.
Right. Yeah. And then they just gave it to the Necrons.
Yep.
I mean, realistically, this is very, very close to what Stranglehold was. A little bit harder, but not that much. So if I hold one of the objectives, I'm going to score 2 points. I'll hold that objective all game. Boom. That's 10 points on the secondary. If I tag the middle a couple of times, I can end up getting 12 or 13 points on it. Heaven forbid I hit all 3 of them. Boom. That's going to be 15. So that one's a good one in this mission. And that's kind of why I always like treasure in these, for the ones that are right down the middle for that reason. Lastly, ancient machineries. So when you look at, once I take those ones, you start looking at what's left. I don't really like to kind of dedicate into the killing, not to mention you don't give up a lot of no prisoner points. You don't give up a lot of bring it down points. So already that's slaughtered right there. Assassinate, you don't have the assassinate points for me.
2 characters.
Yeah. I don't have psychers, so I can't go into any of the psychic secondaries. So now it goes into raise the banners, retrieve battlefield data, or ancient machineries. And with Necrons, ancient machineries just scores better. 4 points every time I complete it. So even if I can only complete that 2 times, that's 8 points. And that might potentially be better than I can get on banners or retrieve battlefield data. Yeah. And then if I get that one turn where I can get those warriors to tag one of those other objectives and pop ancient machineries, boom, there's my 12. And that's the max that you get on retrieve battlefield data. So ancient machineries kind of falls into a case of, it's not is when you look at everything else, this one just scores so good. With that being said, even so, I still think ancient machineries is one of the best secondaries that I have access to out of Necrons, because it scores 4 points when you do it every single time.
Definitely.
So that's my battle plan for basically today is of my secondaries. I'm going to try and keep you out. This is a diagonal deployment, as we'll see in a little bit. So that makes it a little rough on Purge the Vermin, but it's still kind of a table quarter format. So Lane, what are you doing for secondaries and why?
First of all, I'm going to take no prisoners. You give up a ton of these.
Terrible choice in the Necrons. Terrible choice.
Well,
never take it. Never.
In your list in particular, you've got a lot of wounds there for me. There have been times when I'm playing against your Necrons where I might score 7 or 8 points in a single turn. So I feel pretty confident taking that one, especially if you're going to be reanimating and just giving me more and more. I can farm some of those points off of you. So that's probably the strongest one. I'm going to take Assassinate as well. This isn't great. I don't think Votann have really good secondaries, but this one I know the Satans are going to be up in my face, giving me problems. I'm going to have to try and kill them. It's going to take me several turns to do that, but I'm going to at least get some points for taking care of those guys and maybe pick up 1 or 2 others. A lot of your characters you're able to hide, so again, that's why it's not great, even though you do have, 6 characters?
6 characters.
6 characters.
4 little and 2 big.
Yeah, most of them will hide and be tough to get at, so maybe I'll get 3 if I'm lucky. Then third one, I'm going to take Lay Claim. It's a challenge against Necrons because it's me holding objectives that you actually place on the board, not the standard objectives, but you're going to place them for me. And if you go first or second. If you go second, it's so much better for you. Definitely, definitely. And I have the ability to move squads out there, but my bike squads, my pioneers, are real susceptible to the damage that the Satan can do with their mortal wounds. So it's not a great one, but I do want to practice it into your army to see how it goes. The only other option would be really raise the banners, and realistically, best case scenario there is 10 points, if I can keep you off my home field objective and another one on the table. But even that's going to be risky because you're going to be pretty aggressive coming at me. With
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. It's like, yeah, if you get a banner up onto something, you're foregoing the shooting, which is what your army wants to be doing.
Yeah, I built my army around killing everything on the table and then seeing if I get some points after that. It's
so lay claim could be, yeah.
Again, the secondaries are not great for Votann. They are good if I table my opponent. They're awesome. So that's what we're going with today.
Now, one little thing I want you guys to let you know how awesome I am. I'm just letting you know how awesome I am. This is how awesome.
I'm so glad you're
because I know no one knows this, but this right here, and I'll have to put up a little bit closer. This is a little counter. This is a little ticker, and I bring this thing with me to tournaments because I play Necrons, and I know that 9 out of 10 games, unless you have a Codex secondary that's better, people are taking no prisoners against me. So I take this for my opponent to go here. You can use this to track your wounds. This is why I'm such an awesome guy. Like, share, and subscribe. Shameless plug right there. All right, so let's get over into the game. Mr. Lane, you know the drill. Odd or even?
Even.
Man, I think you've gotten that like 3 or 4 times. I have to go back and check.
I just always choose even. So.
All right, well, yeah, we'll be back after deployment, sir. Do you want to play first or second?
You can go first, sir.
I figured as much. All right, time to deploy. All right, so here we go. The Necrons are deployed. So anyone who's seen before, I like to find a building, move in, and fill it with bugs. Like I said before, don't buy a house, I build. So I got scarabs back here. I got spiders back here. I got a squad of scarabs out here, mostly because the one weapon that Lane has used against me that I absolutely hate with all a passion is this big boy right back here.
The SP conversion beamer.
Yes, that picks up scarabs like nothing. So I got him in a good line where the centerpiece of the terrain he's not going to be able to see through. These pieces are on the clear rectangles provided from a Games Workshop store directly. I had a couple people ask about these. So this is actually a rune. This counts as a rune, even though it's very thin.
We're counting it as obscuring too, so I can't shoot over them.
Correct. We did choose some smaller pieces for this, and that's to make sure that when we're recording the battle report, you guys are able to see where the models are. You know, we try to make the terrain a little bit easier to see behind, so you know what we're talking about. But this is actually a rune. Once you touch it, you can see through it, but it blocks an entire firing lane right down the middle, and that's going to help me from the conversion beamer. And that's what I'm trying to do. Now, I won't be able to dodge Mr. Magna Rail that's hiding back here, but at least the Magna Rail is not a conversion beamer. Conversion beamer absolutely roasts the scarabs.
A conversion beamer can pick up 5 scarab bases with one shot, so it does the work on the scarabs.
Lastly, over here, I got the wraiths. 4 of my wraiths, the other 5 are in my building, and my warriors right here to just march up on that objective and get me an easy 4 on ancient machineries. With the diagonal deployment, it makes it real nice to be able to start that ancient machinery push early, but I still want to be in position with the wraiths to counter back. Over here, lastly, I put the Catans to get aggressive with it. Lane only has really one phase that he's able to do damage to me in until the Berserks get involved. So I know I'm able to keep these guys on the front line, excuse me, and doing damage and being a threat to objectives, especially since Lane left a lot of his army at home today. So we're actually just playing under strength. Lane forgot everything else at home.
Listen, hecatons are strong. They can handle the situation. They can handle it.
Exactly. So this is what you do when your opponent leaves his army at home. You tell him, I'm sorry, would hate to be you, but you're not using the rest of your army.
This is why I tell you to make sure you pack everything and double check it before you go to the tournament so you don't end up with no models.
I mean, it sounds fair to me. No.
So what really happened today is that I'm tired of losing bikes and my Terminators, my Hearthguard to Sky of Falling Stars shenanigans, because I can't even hide them. So what I've got today is the Berserks are inside this hecaton, the Hearthguard are inside this hecaton, and all 3 bike squads are starting off the table in reserves. So that's it. Yeah, I just had 4 drops, 2 vehicles, and 2 characters.
All right, so real quick, Lane, again, we are playing Tear Down the Icons. What does that mean for us?
Tear Down the Icons has 5 objectives. It's hold 1, hold 2, hold more. And this one, you get points at the end of the game if you have successfully set bombs in your opponent's territory, which is the territory, not deployment zone. So it just means half of the board. So if I can get a unit wholly within this side of the board, I can plant a bomb. If DJ is able to, he can deactivate that bomb. But if the bomb is still there at the end of the game, I score 4 points.
And if we start dropping bombs, we'll go into more details on that, on all the effects and how that works. Bombs often get forgot about. I can't stress enough how should try to remember that. Look into that one because bombs it's critical couple of points that you could use towards the end, especially to cap out that primary.
Yeah, if you have 2 of them, that's 8 points towards your primary. That's a lot.
All right, so there's only one last thing, Lane. Do you want to go first or second?
I don't care.
I don't care. Love it.
I'm going to kill like 2 or 3 scarabs and put a couple wounds on each of your stands. Doesn't matter one way or the other.
So kind of you want to go second then?
Yeah, I mean, with a late claim, I usually want to go second. So
right on. Well, you get your wish, sir. I will be playing first. All right, so a nice and easy turn 1. Yeah, that's it for my turn. Movement, shooting, all of it. So the C'tans, I advanced with both of them to get them in a better, more defensive position. The Void Dragon's still going to be able to be shot, but the Nightbringer gets a little bit rougher with what angles he can get to pick him up to do the 3 wounds to him. They're getting ready to be a little more aggressive on objective marker 4. Since Lane has not as much on the table right now, I'm going to try and push back on primaries a little bit and try and see if I can't get an early 12 on him. The Scarabs over here, I gave them a 5-up invuln, moved them to just tag the center for Treasure of Aeons. And then inside the building is the rest of that 9-man squad with everything else surrounded behind it. I got my Techno in place. I got the Chronomancer to keep that 5-up invuln going if they survive, because there's a good chance that I could lose a couple of them right now. And then over here, the Necron warriors move into the building to complete Ancient Machinery, and then they'll start to try to make their march on middle to get Ancient Machinery out there, while the Wraiths are drawing up a shield in the wall so that when Lane brings on some of those bikes, I can pounce with the Wraiths with however many remain, depending on if he can shoot at them or not. So that realistically is my turn. Lane, we're going to go over to you. So, my scoring. So I'm going to get a 3 on Treasure of Aeons because I hold these 2 objectives in the middle for my treasure. And I will score 4 on Ancient Machineries because the Necrons will complete that since their objective is secured and earn themselves a beautiful little grudging token. So
you don't get purged turn 1, right?
What's that?
You don't get purged.
Nope, I do not get purged turn 1. I get that's a grudging. So Lane, let's see what your hecatons can do in return. All right, so Lane, I know we're in getting ready for a long movement phase here. Since so many models.
I have 4 units to move.
Such a horde army. But realistically, so Necron positioning, what are you thinking about into this? Not giving you a lot of lanes to shoot down. Or to shoot at me with.
Yeah. Well, at least I can shoot the Void Dragon.
Yes, you can get the Void Dragon.
You're hiding from me, which I hate. I don't know why you don't just come out in the open and meet me like a robot man.
Because we don't want to. We want to score points and awaken tombs. That's it. We're just awakening the tomb, man. But no, there's not a whole heck of a lot of shooting. But something we were talking about before is that because of your secondary choices, that doesn't really affect you that much. The biggest thing is not losing too much ground on the primary game. Right? Yeah.
I mean, I can push into primaries later in the game because the only obsec you have is the warriors, right?
Correct.
Nothing else is obsec.
Correct.
When those bikes get out there, they are obsec. So I'm just hoping I can push in later in the game, kill you a bunch, score maybe a 12 or 2, maybe turn 4 and 5, and maybe plant a bomb or 2 to kind of make up for it.
And your secondaries are all like you can go from 0 and no prisoners to a turn for a 7-point turn like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the interesting things in this matchup is like I can take an early lead on you, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything because all of your secondaries you can just bulk out and score later in the game. Very, very easily. It's lay claim, assassinate, and no prisoners. So, all All right.
That's
looks
the
like
plan.
Yeah, looks like you're finishing up your move, and we'll get some shooting here. All right, so we left the building out of the way of this piece so you guys could see what happened real quick. A bunch of scarabs got beat up real good by that hecaton peeking out behind the wall. And this hecaton over here just put the 4 mortal wounds and used the mortal wound strat just to make sure we were done, and put the 3 wounds on the Void Dragon. Because how much does that stratagem cost you?
Well, it's 1 CP. My Forage Master reduces the cost of 1 War Gear strap by 1 CP. So it's free. So I still have 5 command points now.
Right. So yeah, that was so there was a nice, easy, free, let's just use the 0 point, make sure we get the 3 mortal wounds, because heaven forbid you roll low, don't get any wounds on them, and then
you can spike those 4-up invulns too.
Right, 50%. So end of turn scoring, 0?
Yeah, I killed 20 wounds worth of scarabs, so that's 2 points towards no prisoners. That's it.
All righty. Now we'll get over into the Necrons and try and answer back.
All right, DJ's had his command phase. He's put out some will be dones and some invuln saves. DJ, why don't you tell us what you did in your command phase?
So after I put myself in a position where, depending on how much damage Lane did to me to these scarabs here, my spiders back here, I could kick a scarab base back onto the squad in my command phase and steal that objective. So I'm going to score a 12 on primary this turn. Because Lane didn't go after the other objective, I could have done it with just the warriors, but I was set up to do that. And so I got the scarab back in there. Threw out some 5-up invulns on the warriors and the scarabs. Put some of my will be dones out, even though they don't really matter because I'm not going to get aggressive right now. I'm in a really good position to just start scoring points and just crank up the scoreboard. So I know that he's got some guys coming in, so I'm going to start to shift my move a little bit away over here, just so that if any Hearthguard, the Pioneers decide to come onto one of these table edges, he can't pick on and pick off wraiths too soon, because I don't want that to happen. I don't want them to get hit.
I do want that to happen.
No, definitely not.
We're working across purposes.
So Mr. Void Dragon is going to move in here. He went up to 7 wounds with living metal. He's going to move into here and take that objective. Nightbringer is going to stay where he's at. Like, a lot of my movement is
coward.
Yeah, I mean, he's waiting for you, baby. Come see me. Come hang out.
And I wanted to talk about these scarabs a little bit. I killed 5 of them from a 9-man unit. You reanimated 1. And then your spiders, Canopic spiders, they can reanimate 1 as well.
Yeah.
So net, I've only killed 3 of the 9-man units so far.
Yeah, but that gave you that's one of the nice things dealing with Necrons, is I give you a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah, I just farm no prisoner points.
So, all right, I am nearly done with the movements. I just need to do a couple more measuring, and we can not shoot anything, because I have no shooting phase against you right now at all. I have no charges to go into you at all because of things. I think the only thing I can do is use a Sky of Falling Stars, and the only thing I could hit would be these guys.
Because they're characters?
It's not protected by characters. The character protectives work, but because of the fact that I have to roll under the number of models in the unit, typically you can't target a character. So it doesn't restrict me from targeting them, even though they're character blocked. So I think realistically, they're the only thing that I can do. I'm going to scoot these warriors in a minute, but I'll do that afterwards.
That's a lot of movement.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. I'm going to start Ancient Machineries in the center with these scarabs.
That completes your next command phase.
Correct.
They're not opposite.
Correct. And I'm going to just do the Sky of Falling Stars. Let's see if it hits these guys. Got them, and they take, boom, a big 3 mortal wounds to that squad.
Go, my babies.
But then I'll move the warriors real quick. That's going to finish out my turn even. So I'm going to get a 4 on Treasure of Aeons. Nothing for Ancient Machineries this turn. And I'm going to get a 4 on Purge the Vermin, because I have 1, 2, 3 table quarters and my home. So 4 on Purge the Vermin. And that's going to be it. Don't need to send any bombs. I did get the 12 on primary, so I'm really happy with that score.
Big scoring turn.
Big scoring turn. So, all right, I'll get these guys cleaned up, and then we'll move over to your turn. And should I say ta-da? that all your unit, oh, suddenly your army appeared. You brought them with you. Hooray! We got pioneers entering the field.
Pioneers here. Pioneers here. We got to start killing some stuff. At this point, we're just going to have to take some Skyfalling Stars damage from the Satans and probably get charged by them. But if we get charged by a Satan, we get to fire Overwatch, which is cool.
Right. So you brought these pioneers on over here. You got 5 of them that are able to draw lines because remember, the way that we do this is that this little corner right here is where the wall stops. So it is actually an L shape right there for us. So 5 of those pioneers are going to be able to draw a line on the Void Dragon, so that'll most likely get his 3 wounds for the phase. Yeah. Talk to me, the Hearthguard. Yep. We were talking about this a little bit. They got out. You're looking to buff them. They're going to be, next turn, they're going to get the full rerolls from the Chapter Master reroll from the call. But
yeah, I jumped him out here and made sure they were more than 32 inches from him because he's got an 8-inch move and then 24-inch range for Sky Falling Stars. And Sky Falling Stars picks up my little Terminators pretty easily. I think the other one will probably be in range if they want to get close, but I'm just trying to minimize the damage I take from that.
Pioneers are going to be shooting at Necron Warriors. And then the Hecatons are both poised to remove the Scarabs to get them out of the game.
That's the plan.
All right, let's see how it works out for you. All right, so finishing off Lane's turn. Center's looking a little bit thinner.
Yeah, so I didn't like those Scarabs trying to do the Ancient Machiners there, so we shot them a whole bunch, picked them up. This Hecaton by itself was able to do that. DJ's favorite, the Conversion Beamer, was able to pop off and pick them. Then I decided to go with the Hecaton first and the Warriors that were here. I didn't want to pick up too many and then have DJ pull some so that the bikes couldn't see them. I shot all the guns and picked up 7 of them and then fired the Magna Rail, and it rolled a 6 to wound, which meant that it ignored the invuln and the damage flowed through the unit. So I decided to re-roll that because I knew if I did that, he would be able to pull totally from the side of the bikes. Then he would be able to resurrect, he would be able to reanimate, and then in his turn, Resurrection Orb and bring a bunch of them back.
While so I hiding behind a wall and pulling them out of range, out of line of sight of those pioneers back over there.
Yeah, so I actually re-rolled a 6 to wound with the Magna Rail because I didn't want that to happen, and I got a 3. So, and then the bikes were able to see the rest of the guys and pick them up. And then over here, these bikes took the 3 wounds off the Void Dragon. Decided not to charge him because he'd probably wipe the most of the bike squad, even though.
Not leaving very many left.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be able to kill him because he's got 4 wounds left, so I wouldn't be able to kill him in that single fight phase. So,
all right, so let's talk about score.
Well, I got 48 wounds this turn for no prisoners, so it's 4 points there, and most of the way to the 5th point, and that's it.
Yep, everything else we're still waiting for
characters. Game for lay claim, and I need to kill characters.
All right, time for the Necrons. Alrighty, so finishing off the Necron movement phase as well as doing some Catan powers. Mr. Void Dragon staying put and just staying on this objective as I use the Veil to bring the spiders in to try and remove the last of this 4-man Pioneer. That's right, Catan powers hurt. So the Sky Falling Stars was able to pick one guy up definitely over there. And then when we got over to the Nightbringer, he used Gaze of Death on the Hecaton, Antimatter Meteor on the Hecaton, and then rolled a random Catan power, which ended up being Sky of Falling Stars.
My least favorite.
I hit the Hearthguard again to get him down to 4, or the Pioneers, I'm sorry. Hit the Hearthguard in the back.
You picked up one of them.
And then on the Pioneers, I just did a little bit of damage, putting 2 wounds onto 1, bring it down to 1 wound, or was it 1 wound, because you probably didn't do it on
I took 2 wounds, yeah.
So. Yeah, I figured out on them. Otherwise, moved up to center, kind of opening up the backfield a little bit. We're getting aggressive here. I have some early turn scoring, so I kind of just want to keep hitting the scoreboard hard, and that's what we're going to try and do. These Scarabs in the middle are going to try and do Ancient Machineries, and let's roll some dice. Let's play some Hammer. So at the end of the shooting phase, the spiders were able to pick up 2 more of the Pioneers, so we're in a good position with them. That they're pretty beat up. I'm happy with that, but they're not gone. So now into charges. The Nightbringer charged the Hecaton, and it's good. The Wraith charged the Hecaton, and the Wraith over here charged the Hecaton, and are in good, and are in a position to pile into the Pioneers to tag them and bring them in. They're not quite as good in combat. They're more of a shooting thing, so at least that helps me out a little bit. But now over here, the Void Dragon is going to try and charge these last 2 Pioneers. And Lane is going to Overwatch. So here we go. You need 6s?
6 to hit, but auto wounding because you got a judgment token on you. So, all right, got 2. Not great. And then we've got 6 auto cannons. None. And then 1 shotgun.
All right.
So you just got 3.
3.
All AP, 1 or 2. So
and they're all 2 damage?
They're all 1 damage.
All 1 damage?
Yeah, no 2 damage.
All right, so I'm going to roll these one at a time because I do have a lot of command points. Stop 1. I'll take 1. We're going to spend the command point and reroll that. Saves it. And the last one. Oh, he takes them all, trucking it. So the Void Dragon is going to attempt to charge in here. And he will get a 7. I believe that's what I needed. And then we'll go over into the fight phase. All right, so finishing off the Necron turn, the Void Dragon was able to finish off those last 2 of the the Pioneers. Nightbringer whiffed pretty bad. Had 10 wounds left on it and dropped it down to 5. Was only able to do 5 damage into there. He did not have a good swing. As far over here in the middle, was able to plink off 1 damage on this guy with the Wraiths. Pioneers ended up finishing off. With Hecaton actually did a wound.
Yes, he did.
In combat. And then the Pioneers did finish off a Wraith. But my biggest goal this turn was I wanted to turn the Hecatons off for a turn, not get shot at, so I can make some other plays and play across the game. So now, as far as scoring goes, I did not get Ancient Machineries. I did start it again this turn. I will get a 2 on Purge the Vermin because I have my home field objective, home field territory, and this table quarter. And I will get, again, 4 on Treasure of Aeons because I hold all 3 of the center objectives. This will put Lane on a 4 again on primaries for his turn, and that's where I'm starting. And at the end of my turn, Lane's got a present for me.
Yeah, I guess I'll give it to these Scurbs. I get a grudging for holding that objective.
Their first grudge token. All right, Mr. Lane. He's got 1 more squad of Pioneers that have to come on this turn. Let's see how this plays out. All right, so Lane is really covering the board this turn. The Hearthguard decided to use their jump. They're going to try and assassinate the Chronomancer back here.
Yeah, I took Assassinate, so I got to kill characters.
And then over here, the Pioneers for a command point fell back. So one of these guys is going to get to try his luck against the Chronomancer over here.
At the very least, they're OBSEC, so I take that objective from you.
Yes.
And you're going to have to work real hard to get Purge the next turn.
Yeah, Purge is going to be in a rough position. I'm going to have to beat you up in order to get Purge, but we'll see how it goes. And now the last Pioneers are on board over here.
Yep.
Berserks came out to play.
Heck yeah.
Because that's pivotal so that the Void Dragon, to try and get the Void Dragon this turn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's about it. We're going to go over into shooting. The Hecaton stayed in combat. So we'll...
They're going to shoot you right in your face. Oh, and I forgot. This is going to heal for flat 4. So it goes up to 9, so we're not bracketed anymore.
All right. Let's go do some shooting. Quite a vicious turn for Votann. This is definitely a damage-dealing army, and this was definitely a damage-dealing turn. These Pioneers were able to pick up almost all of the Scarabs. He literally left me with 1 wound left, so I could reanimate 2 off there. The Hecaton did put its 3 wounds onto the Nightbringer. And they were, it was your stray characters or what did 3 damage.
Yeah, the Call had her Stormbolter took a couple wounds off, and I think we did.
You got with the Berserker, yeah. I mean, you got the 3 wounds onto him. He's at 2. You just needed him to be at 3.
Mm-hmm.
You got him there and got a little bit extra just in case. And then over here, the Pioneer, that one guy,
Pioneer.
Man, he did not make. I think I made like 1 save with him. He just got pummeled into oblivion.
And that one got killed too.
Well, yep. The Wraiths got beat down to just 1 with a wound left. And these Wraiths lost 2 of their buddies in the middle as well. And like Lane had said, down here, this guy actually died. But I spent the stratagem, or the command point on the stratagem to try to resurrect them at the end of the turn. And he survived, and he's back. And he's back. He's going to probably need to get out of there quickly. So now charges. I think you only got the 1, really, right?
No, sir. I'm going to charge that guy.
Oh, you're going to try and charge him? Oh, all right.
He's got what, 2 wounds left?
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
I mean,
all right.
it's 9-inch charge, but
All right. Well, we'll see how this goes. All right. So the Nightbringer left the Hackathon at 1 wound left.
woohoo.
Over here, the Berserks were able to pick up the Void Dragon, leaving just a grudge token in the wake. And then over here, Mr. Hekaton got his inner Bigfoot and squished the last Wraith. So, Lane, what did you get for scoring this turn? Oh, by the way, those who are wondering, they failed their charge.
They failed their charge. Yeah. So 6 points for Assassinate because we got 2 characters. Technically killed 3, but you decide to bring 1 back. And then in addition to that, I got another 50 wounds for no prisoners. Picked up a bunch of scarabs and some wraiths and that sort of thing. So
That one's probably getting real close to
I'm at 13 right now, so I think I need another 12 wounds and I'll have it maxed.
Yeah.
So we're not worried about that so much. It's going to be some of the other stuff. Primaries mostly is the problem.
All right, now it's on to Necron turn. All right, so end of movement as well as the Catan powers. The Nightbringer finally finished off the Hackathon with a Gaze of Death, and then did some Cosmic Fire damage to beat up on the Forge Master, and it failed on the Hackathon. Otherwise, the spiders are going to start Ancient Machineries back here in the corner. These Scarabs got hit with my Resorb, as well as the Spider buff to bring another guy back. So they're at a big size, 5 up invuln and +1 attack, and are try to rush in here on these unsuspecting berserks. My Overlord's in trouble. My Overlord is definitely in trouble. There's not much else he can do except stand there and hold that and score me my last little bit of treasure points, hopefully. And that Chronomancer that survived, he's running. He's heading for the hills and seeing if he can't survive. So now all that's left is to do the very, very, very little bit of shooting. I lied. There is no shooting. All right, so we're just going to look around and do some charges. All right, so ending out combat, the Scarabs picked up the majority of the Berserks, so they're going to be, there's only just the big guy left. They beat me up pretty good too, taking out a couple of those, but it was some heavy damage. Over here, the Forge Master was the one to interrupt and actually put a little bit more of a hurting on the Nightbringer, and these Wraiths chewed through the call and grab that objective, so we're going to take that home field objective since Lane decided to go and take mine. Over here, the Overlord is in a really bad position, as I keep saying. I'm not too hopeful for him. Chronomancer ran out, so the Hearthguard are going to take this spot, which actually means I'm going to get a... no, I will get a 1. I will get on 1 on Purge the Vermin, because I'll have this one right here, this quadrant, because you're not quite... Oh, poopy. I was just standing at the wrong angle. You're right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my bad. So 0 on Purge. I will get a 3 on Treasure.
You got Ancient at the beginning, too.
I did get Ancient at the beginning.
Scarabs are still there.
So I got 4 for that. So I got 8. I'm total of 8 on that. And I started Treasure or an Ancient back here.
You got 3 on Treasure.
I do get a 3 on Treasure for those 2 center objectives.
Yeah, so you're maxed out there.
Yeah, and we will go over into Lane. All right, Votann finish up their movement. The Hearthguard moving up to take my objective and put a bomb down. Over here, the Pioneers are still able to hold this objective inside the building while stringing out and get 3 of them to take a chance and try and take on my Overlord. The Hackathon Land Fortress backed up and is going to put some heat on the Wraiths and probably the Nightbringer too, try and do some damage to him. And then back over here, the Pioneers over here went across the lane and drew a firing. Lane drew a lane for 5 of them at the spiders. So we'll see how this shooting phase rolls out and come back to the charges. All right, so while Lane does his charge move, the Pioneers were able to pick up the spiders.
Wait, is he a 2 up?
And then, no, 3 up. And then over here, the Hackathon was able to kill 2 of the Wraiths. Nightbringer standing strong with 5 wounds remaining.
Double rolled 1s to hit with the Magnum Reel.
And over here, the Pioneers are going to successfully charge my Overlord hanging out in the middle. And then these Hearthguard are just going to chill in the back. This is probably where they're going to be for the rest of the game. In case I forget about them, they're doing a good job for themselves. That's where they need to be.
Good job, boys.
All right, so this is going to be the only combat. Pioneers charging in, and then my Scarabs will get to fight first against this last Berserk over here. All right, so the Scarabs finished off this last Berserk and then lost a guy in exchange from the fighting on death. Then over here, the Overlord was able to stand tough and defiant against the Pioneers. However, they are objective secured, so they will take the objective from him. So ending out Lane's turn, he has maxed out no prisoners and got another kill on Assassinate. And he's got that bomb that's going to complete next turn. It hasn't completed yet, but it will complete next turn. So now it's just time for the Necrons to finish off their turn 5. All right, so finishing off the Necron movement phase, we're going to try and get rid of these Pioneers here. Brought the Wraith over here to absorb the Overwatch and the Scarabs around the corner. And then the Overlord fell back just so that Lane has to kill him during his turn and dedicate something to that instead of letting him just pick off the Overlord in this turn. So all that's left is my little bit of damage out of here. We're just going to move right to end of turn after all this cleans up. Okay, so finishing out the turn, the Nightbringer made the charge, and the Scarabs did. The Wraith failed. No overwatching was done, and the Nightbringer and the Scarabs were able to finish off those Pioneers. So I will get a 2 for treasure for the turn. I got 1 more point on Purge this game, and nothing for the Ancient. So not strongest secondary game, but we'll see if my primary game gives me the win as we move into Lane's turn 5. All right, so Lane was trying to pull out all the stops with some crazy stuff to see what the max points he could get out of this. Pioneers advanced auto 6, and were able to hold both of these lay claims and stretch out over them, but that meant they could not shoot. Didn't really need to, as the Hearthguard over here were able to shoot at the Overlord, but for the 1 CP strat, he did stand back up at the end of the shooting phase, so that denied Lane 3 points there for the last Assassinate points. This Hackathon rushes up, grabs this objective, so he was able to get a 15 at the end of the game on Lane claim. Very, very tight, very good game. Came very close with that 15 on Lay claim, but this is a Necron victory with a final score, Necrons 84, Votann 77. Stay tuned for the post-game wrap-up where we talk about all the different things that happened during the course of the game. Thanks for watching.